It's time now for Carter's Corner. Everything Bay Area sports on the Northern California Sports and Entertainment Network. Here is your host, Carter Kim.
Hello and welcome to Carter's Corner. I am Carter here on Northern Lights Sports and Entertainment. Here on a nice Saturday, as Daniel Barry is here to point out. What a nice day. I'm here currently in Santa Cruz, and I'm pretty much open to talking about anything. There's going to be an incredible match between the Guardians and the Yankees later. Carlos Rodon and Tanner Bybee will be on the mound. Tomorrow, it will be between the New York Mets and the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's going to be a very interesting set of matchups. Not to mention, the San Francisco 49ers will also be playing our friends in, I believe, Kansas City. Yeah, we'll be playing Kansas City. And, yeah, I still don't think our team is great yet. Hopefully, Ricky Pearsall will be able to add something to the offensive attack. But right now, defensively, if they get into a good position, they're going to shred us, and I'm worried about that. But other than that, other good news in Bay Area sports, the Golden State Warriors are going to be back soon. The NBA is going to be back. The NFL is going to continue. October baseball is incredibly in full swing right now. And I want to say this. I want to emphasize something about my take last night on Giant Sports Talk Live. When I talk about the Dodgers and how they are as a team, I specifically am trying to say about them, I think that they are overrated in a lot of ways. Maybe not all of their players that they produce are bad, or that stars they produce are bad, or whatever, but they are certainly overrated. I don't think Mookie, Freddie, or Shohei are overrated. I don't think so. Will Smith, though, is not a superstar catcher. I don't think Max Muncy is as an incredible player as people think. He's not the best. And when I talk about how the Dodgers do business and prospect development and other things, that's overrated because any team can do those things. Not necessarily the prospect development of like flipping a bunch of bums for Mookie Betts, but certainly how their prospects have turned out and how they spend money on superstar players. What I'm trying to say is that I got to be better. Okay? I got to articulate these things better. I got to be better at talking about this. I have to speak less broadly. I have to be a bit more precise in what I'm trying to say. And I'm promising to do that here. So just in case anybody finds this bit of the show, I'm hoping to do that more. I'm hoping to be better at that specifically. And I'm hoping that people will still listen to me and see me as somebody that can be listened to. But I'm going to take like what I've said on the chest because honestly, I think I should have articulated that better, but I'll take it though. Hey, Ed, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. I'm here basically to talk about anything, Ed, if you want to. I mean, like, that's basically what I want this show to be. I want it to be a sort of a town hall almost. I don't know, a square, just a place for everybody to talk about basketball, baseball, football. I'm here for y'all. Just whatever. Something happened? I mean, I'm just trying to be better as a person talking about sports. And one of the things that entails is that I got to be more precise. I got to stop being broad and making generalizations. I got to be a little bit more understanding of what I'm talking about. And sometimes I say things too broadly. I rush into things, and I'm trying to be better. Simply put, I'm just trying to be better, Ed. That's all. But I think that, especially with the Dodgers take that I made, it's that I don't think the Dodgers are a bad team, but I certainly think they are. I think the way they do things, whether it's drafting and developing or signing superstars, it's overrated. A lot of what they do is super overrated. I mean, I seriously want to talk about this in particular. I mean, when I talk about their farm system players in particular, I say this. When I say they are an overrated team in terms of the farm system, a lot of the players they produce are okay players, but are they really superstars like they're propped up to be all the time. Everyone thinks Max Muncy is a perennial all-star. He's not. Everyone said Justin Turner was a perennial all-star. He's not. Will Smith is not a perennial all-star either. Along with that, other players, just it's not about them being bad, those players being bad. I don't think they're necessarily bad players, but they're not as good as people make them out to be. And that's not wrong, but it's what I'm saying. It's overrated. Again, it's not. I'm trying to reframe my take to be as reasonable as possible because I made a lot of mistakes when I was talking about the Dodgers. So what I'm trying to say basically is I think the Dodgers are a team that is overrated in many ways because what they do is not as impressive as people think. This is just something that's happened for a long time. The way they spend money on superstars, the Yankees did that, and the Yankees have actually won something. The way they develop prospects, a lot of their prospects have been good, but a lot of the prospects they've traded actually haven't turned out to be what they are. Other teams may buy what they're selling, but that doesn't mean that they're actually doing a good job with prospect development. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to put this on the table. I'm trying to be better, making takes, talking about sports, and I'm trying to promise to everybody here that I'm going to be better at that. I'm not going to be someone who's so fixated on my beliefs or fixated on topics. That's why after this, I'm going to try and let the Dodgers thing go and not think about it too much. But my promise is I'm going to be better. I'm going to try and be better for everybody here, try and be better, and just try not to be someone who's so rash and quick to judge and quick to make decisions on my opinions. I mean, that's not good, and I got to do better. But that's all for y'all. Anyway, later today, the Yankees will play the Guardians at, I believe, at Progressive Field. It will be between Carlos Rodon and Tanner Bybee. The lineups will be Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Anthony Rizzo, Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells, and Alex Verdugo, along with the Cleveland lineup being Stephen Kwan, Daniel Fry, Jose Ramirez, Lane Thomas, Josh Naylor, Junkinski Noel, Bo Naylor, Andres Jimenez, and Brian Rocchio. That'll be an interesting matchup. I'm not going to say too much, but I do think that it's going to be an interesting thing to see how that goes because I think, like many people have said, I talked with Eric about this. Listen, the Yankees going to the World Series wouldn't be the worst thing ever. I think that I think a lot of their fans are genuinely good fans. There are some too many casual fans that are just, too quick to judge, too quick to be very toxic in their views about baseball. But I am a believer that a lot of the older Yankees fans in particular are smart people. They're good people. And I think that if they won a World Series, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would much rather see the Guardians get a chance, but it's not the worst thing. And as for the other series, it's like Johnny said, the Mets are in a bit of a bizarre position right now because they're going to be going back to Chavez Ravine facing the Dodgers. And their bullpen is going to be very, very, they've had 2 days of rest. They're in good shape. But yeah, we're looking at some good wild card games. And I'm trying to look at the regular season schedule for the Warriors, but the first game between for the Warriors will be us versus the Golden State Warriors versus the the Portland Trail Blazers. It will be an interest. I think this season for the Golden State Warriors, I'm just going to say this for the record before we start the season. The Golden State Warriors have, in my opinion, one last good dance in them, one last shot to do something impressive, in my opinion, because after this year, the Golden State Warriors are going to be in a state of flux. I mean, Steph's getting older. Draymond's getting older. all these guys are going to be in a position where it's like they can't perform at that level always anymore. So I say this, like, this is a good opportunity for everybody. We did very well in the preseason. Squad looks good. I mean, I am truly interested to see how this will all go. But I have faith in the guys that I've watched for a long time. I have faith in Steph and Draymond. And I think that if things go right, we might be able to get ourselves a top seed. But we have a lot of rivals nipping at our feet. Phoenix Suns, our friends obviously over in Denver, along with Los Angeles that's trying to claim its glory, but is also like the Dodgers where they haven't actually won anything. I actually am a firm believer that the bubble was actually a legitimate ring because it was a little different. But I think that this is going to be an interesting year for the Warriors because I think after this year, we're going to know where we're going as a franchise. Especially post-Steph and post-Draymond and post-Clay. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how all that goes, but it is an exciting time in the Bay for the Golden State Warriors, and I can't wait to see how all this goes. But, yeah. Another thing, Ricky Pearsall will be back in the 49ers lineup on tomorrow against the Chiefs, and I am stoked, man. I am so stoked to see how that dude's going to do. I mean, it was so scary, in my opinion, when Ricky got shot and everything got crazy. And it's just good to see him finally back on his feet and playing, like legitimately playing full pads. And I can't wait to see how he does. But, yeah, what happened to him was scary. And it was definitely a moment where it was like, oh, yeah, I really hope that the dude is, ready to go. But I like Ricky. I like how he's been doing. And it's going to be good to see because Juwan Jennings is also out. And let's just hope that the 49ers need to be better. They need to be much better than they are right now because we are not a good enough team right now, and we got to be better. It's just I look at the next parts of our schedule. We play a lot of good teams. And soon enough, that stuff's going to be gone in the blink of an eye. We play the Cowboys next week. Well, they'll probably be easy. I mean, the Cowboys, we own the Cowboys, so I'm not that scared of the Cowboys. That's the thing. The Buccaneers are a good team, though, and I love Baker Mayfield and how he's been playing. The Seahawks are another difficult one. The Packers, also tough. The Bills are tough. The Bears might not be too tough, but we have to deal with Caleb Williams. We got to beat the Rams the second time around. We got to be better. Bottom line, we got to be better. But yeah, y'all, I think that's most of what I have to say. I mean, until then, I'm here to talk about whatever. If anybody wants to talk about anything related to sports, Bay Area sports, I am here to give you my opinions. I'm here to hear your opinions, and we'll see. We shall see. I'm taking a look at the Carlos Rodon has had a really good career versus Cleveland, especially Jose Ramirez. Josh Naylor has also been beat by Rodon. Tanner Bybee hasn't had a lot of at-bats versus the New York, but that's going to be interesting. I mean, we shall see. We shall see because October is I love the last two rounds the most, wild card and DS. The Champions Series, it's not been boring, but it's certainly been a little more under control. And then we're going to have the World Series where it all shapes up. It'll be interesting to see, how it all ends up being. But, yeah, a World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees. God help us all. God help us all. Sincerely. I don't want to have to hear from annoying Yankees fans and obnoxious Dodgers fans. Because in reality, sincerely, if the Dodgers win, I'm gonna be so mad because they don't deserve it. in my opinion. I mean, okay, you know what? I can't even say that. Because in reality, if they actually do win it, they're going to have won it with half a pitching staff. I mean, that's something to be admired almost. But honestly, I'm just hoping that the predictions on this sheet of paper are correct. Because, yeah, I really hope that this is not one of those years where we end up with two juggernauts in the World Series. Adi and I talked about this. We talked about the issues of that. It's just, I want to see a World Series like last year's. Last year's World Series was one of the best World Series in a long time, in my opinion. And that was because there was a certain unpredictable nature to it. Like, no one expected a team like, I don't know. No one expected a team like the Guardians or the Rangers to make it to the World Series. Everyone had other teams, the Houston Astros, the Orioles, the Dodgers, the Phillies. I mean, those teams were clearly seen as the favorites. And the Rangers and the Diamondbacks came out of nowhere and pulled off something spectacular. And honestly, I'm more here for that than anything else. Oh. But yeah, I think that this is going to be a very interesting one. Man. Whew, I mean, I kind of, if I'm thinking about this honestly, one of the things I've talked the most about on this show is baseball. And I am going to miss it because it's going to be something that I want to talk about all the damn time. But we'll have Giants news in the offseason, but I'm not doing push-ups. I'm not doing push-ups. These are weak, all right? And besides, I just did like weights. I can't do that right now. Sorry. No. Oh. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna miss October baseball. I'm gonna miss baseball in general for the next October, November, January, November, December, January, February, March, April. We have 6 months until we're back in it, but I am truly interested to see how this turns out. But I'm also kind of interested to see how when the World Series ends and we're finally in the offseason again. I'm interested to see how the Giants decide to go with the front office. Buster's obviously the man now, but he's bringing in a GM to run day-to-day a little more thoroughly. And I'm going to be interested to see how he decides to do that. But I like Buster and how he's been doing things so far, and I'm hoping that this offseason is full of intrigue and just something interesting, because for a long time we've been robbed of opportunity under Farhan Zaidi. It's time to get back in the saddle, y'all. It's time to aspire to the excellence that this logo has. But yeah, this is going to be a fun off season though, in a lot of ways. But besides, we'll have other things to entertain us. We'll have Golden State Warriors coming back. We'll obviously have the 49ers continuing. And I'm starting to learn more about hockey. So, and speaking of hockey, I believe the San Jose Sharks got absolutely pipe bombed by the Jets 8-3. I mean, man, like that's just yeah. I really want to see that team do well as well. But unlike a lot of the other teams I talk about on this show, with the Giants, the Warriors and the Niners, they have a certain expectation on them that I've had from watching them in my life. With the Sharks, I haven't watched them avidly, so I am someone who has to, how do I say this, get a better idea of the game that I'm watching to have a bit more fun with it. But yeah, we got beat by the Blackhawks, the Jets. We have no wins, and the worst part is we're going up against the Avalanche on Sunday. So going up against the Avalanche on Sunday as well is brutal. I mean, the Avalanche, I'm not sure how well they've been doing, but they're a well-run team by that famously one of the most famous men of integrity, Stan Kroenke. But then again, they haven't been great this season, so you never know. But I'm hoping that these next few months that I do with you guys are going to be interesting, because I really do want to just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Like whether it's the 49ers, whether it's the Giants, obviously, whether we talk about the Warriors a lot. I want to talk about the game with you guys, and I want to have fun with it, because at this point, we have really had a lot of fun with all of this in baseball, and I've been talking about it a little too much, in my opinion, and I think we need to talk about other things too. So it'll be interesting to see how all that is. Because, again, I'm also new to this. I'm figuring it out too. I'm hoping that I end up still doing well. So we'll see. We will see. But yeah. But yeah, if anybody has anything to say or anything to add, or just any sporting news they want me to talk about, I'm interested for sure. Because I believe there is some news about our pitching coach. I don't know too much about what's. I'm just trying to find some. Yeah, I know that we've also been talking about Bo Bichette a lot on the other show. And how interested we'd be in that. I'm just wondering what we would do to trade for him, because I honestly do not think we should trade a top prospect for Bichette, because Bichette was not great last year. Yeah, he was battling injuries, but we would have to. Yeah, it's just, I don't know who we would trade for him. Yes, we have some good players in the farm, some decent players in the farm, but it would have to be someone a little more reasonable, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, but we all know. I also announced JP Martinez is going to be the new pitching coach. That's going to be interesting, because I don't know too much about Martinez. I mean, he's probably a good guy. I mean, oh my gosh, it's just all right. I can't use The Athletic. Bichette is also a rental. Yeah, no, that's the truth. I mean, if I was going to trade, okay, listen, if the Toronto Blue Jays say, oh, yeah, we want Carson Whisenhunt for Bo Bichette, I would say, hell no. Any of the top 10 or 20 prospects, any of the top 15 prospects for Bichette would be unreasonable, in my opinion, because Bichette, as good of a player as he is when he's healthy, he just had a really bad season last year. I can't justify giving away possible big leaguers like Whisenhunt or Eldridge or any of the guys that we have that we brought up to the Blue Jays just because it's Bo Bichette and what he's done before. Because if he ends up being bad, then that's not great. I mean, if we trade only okay prospects and players for him, it's not a big deal. But I just don't like the notion of trying to, get Bichette for something so expensive, especially, as you said, Ed, he's a rental. So I would not recommend at all just trying to get him for like a top prospect or somebody like that. Because I'm looking at the prospect list right now. I mean, I would say pretty much anyone in the top 15, maybe Wade Meckler. I don't know. But I would say most of the players like Velasquez, McDonald, Ahuna, Crawford, Black, Martin, a lot of these other guys, like, I don't really want to risk the notion of trading him. I would trade a top 5 to 10 prospect and a 20 to 30 prospect. This big risk, big reward. I mean, yes, Bichette has high trade. I mean, I'm not even sure if Bichette has high trade value, because if you want to take a look at his stats from last year and how he played last year, I mean, he was really, really bad. I mean, I'm gonna just read off his stats. His average was 225, a 277 OBP, a slugging percentage of 322. He had hit 20 homers for the other 2 years of his career. I know that Bichette is a good player when he's healthy, but he's just had a really bad year. And honestly, I would not be one to take a risk. I mean, 5 to 10 prospect. I mean, would you be willing to trade Arias, Whitman, Martin, Black, Crawford, or any of these other guys? I wouldn't want to trade. Actually, Mason Black, maybe Mason Black, or maybe someone like, I don't know, maybe someone like Mason Black. You know what? Actually, I'm starting to come around on your idea, Ed. Like, if you were talking like Mason Black and one of the 20 to 30 guys, I'd say, okay, sure. But it would have to be reasonable. That's the biggest thing about the Bichette trade. If we were going to trade for Bo Bichette, it would have to be a reasonable thing. Like, it can't be like, oh yeah, let's go pay him, like, let's go pay for him for, like, I don't know. Again, it cannot be like something insane. If they're asking for top 5 prospects, I would say no. And again, that's the problem. His trade value isn't as high as people think either. I don't think that his trade value is that high, especially after the disastrous year he had last year. I mean, if you go look at his advanced stats, I'm like super shocked. Like, they're not good in comparison to like 2023 as well. 2023. So his 2023 stats were 306 average, a 339 on-base percentage, and a slugging percentage of 475. That's really good. But then you go to next year, and that's a drop in average by at least 70 points, a drop in OBP by at least 70 points, and a drop in slugging percentage of like 100 and some points. It's not about him being a bad player. It's just, it's so risky. Let's revisit absorbing Rendon's contract. Anthony Rendon is a cancer. I'm sorry. I don't want that guy in my clubhouse, if I'm giving it totally honest. Listen, Anthony Rendon can be a good player, but there's 2 issues in my opinion. 1, he's injured all the time, so I would not be inclined. 2, most of all, he is just not someone who cares about baseball, playing baseball seriously, or trying to do something. Yes, we could absorb the contract and get someone like Zach Neto, like you said, but even then, Zach Neto is more or less okay. I mean, let me just take a look at Neto for a second. Zach Neto, these were his stats from last year. I mean, Nationals want to chip with a cancer. It can work. I mean, yeah, it can work. But this was before. But that, I want to be clear about, like, the Anthony Rendon stuff. He became a cancer with the Angels. I mean, we know him as that because he specifically said with the Angels, baseball has never been a top priority for me. And if baseball really isn't a top priority for you, I don't know why we should trust you to be a member of the team. I mean, when he was with the Nationals, yeah, he did start caring because he has to make a contract. He has to feed his family and the people he cares about. But as soon as he got that massive contract from Anaheim, he stopped caring. So it's not just about like, oh yeah, let's bring him on. And also he plays third base. Matt Chapman plays third base. That's the problem. And if I'm looking at Zach Neto in particular, like, I see some promising stuff, but he's not particularly great. I mean, the average is kind of blah. The OBP in particular is what scares me. He doesn't get on base a lot. The slugging percentage is more okay. And I'm looking at the advanced stats right now. The only thing that seems to really pop out for me is his speed and arm strength. So it's not really like again, I think getting Rendon for Neto as well, with Neto coming along, it's an interesting notion, but you'd have to give me like one or two other interesting things for people. Baseball is not a top priority for Juan Soto. Money is Soto's priority. Rendon could be a DH/first. I mean, I don't know that about Juan Soto, because he's always talked about how much he enjoys baseball, how much he cares about baseball. I mean, he puts stake into his craft. He plays super hard. I mean, his goal has always been to win a championship. On all the teams that he's been on, the Yankees, the Padres, the Nationals have always been championship teams. And ever since in that rookie year when he came up and just won the World Series, I don't think that thought has ever left him. Like, I want to win a World Series. So it's like, I do think Rendon, you could try and move him to DH or first, but also in first, we have to worry about the notion of bringing up Bryce Eldridge as well. And a DH is definitely possible, but I would not, again, I don't want to bring Anthony Rendon onto this team. He's just not somebody who I take seriously as a baseball player. I mean, I don't know how a guy can say, oh yeah, I don't care about baseball. It's never been my top priority. I mean, yes, money making is the priority of baseball, but you also have to have a certain care for the game as well, in my opinion. I mean, I can't trust a guy who's just there to make money, especially for a sport like baseball. If you're just here to make money and that's just your prerogative to do it, then why should I trust you to perform to the best of your abilities? That's all, really. Again, it's not a bad idea, because getting a guy like Neto as a prospect would and just developmental piece is an interesting notion. There's also an issue of fielding, which is like, I'm looking at his fielding numbers right now. They are not great. He's taken a step back in a lot of ways, and he's just not hitting as well as one would expect for a guy. How about absorbing Gausman's contract to get Vlad or Bichette? Let's look at what the Dodgers did to get Betts, Adrian Gonzalez years ago. I mean, if we're talking about absorbing Gausman's contract for Bichette, I would be totally in for that. But again, it's really about, from the Bichette thing, in my opinion, it's got to be reasonable. Let me just get Gausman as well. Like, looking at Kevin Gausman, I mean, he hasn't been great. Not great at all, but he's been solid. And I would totally welcome him back. It's just like a decent piece. Again, he's not great or as great as he used to be, but I would definitely say, you know what? Fine. Like, why not? Bring him back. Just as a why not thing. I mean, his location's still good. He's still a decent player. If we were going to talk about absorbing Gausman's contract and getting one of those two guys, Bichette or Vladdy, then I would be totally interested in what you're saying, because, again, like, Gausman's on the decline, but it's got to be, again, if I was going to trade with the Blue Jays to get Vlad or Bichette, or specifically if we're talking about, because, again, getting Vladdy in this situation when he plays such a good first base is a little difficult, in my opinion. Because, yeah, you can slide Vladdy to DH, but I'm not sure that would be the best thing for a player like Vladdy. And I'm not sure he'd want to do that for the rest of his career. I mean, you could corner outfield him. I don't know. But the problem with – but if you were to come to me – if the Blue Jays were going to come to me, I'm the Giants GM, and they say, hey, we're going to offer you Bo Bichette and Kevin Gausman. We only need a couple, like 3 of your like more decent prospects. Then I'm saying, okay, sure, I'm in. It's just, it's got to be reasonable. That's the biggest thing, though. It has to be reasonable. It can't be like one of the top 5 prospects and then 2 top 30s. It's just not. I wouldn't do it. That's all. But I do think that idea is definitely worth meriting, though, especially talking about the Gausman contract. If we were going to do that, I would be totally in for it, especially since Gausman isn't terrible. He's still okay. He's not the best as he used to be, but he's certainly got the stuff to a point where I'd be like, okay, fine, give him another chance. I mean, he's shown what he can be, and he's still like 33, and it's just got to be reasonable. It cannot be for an obscene amount of money, in my opinion. There we go. But I will say, Ed, I do like that idea. I do like the idea of just taking on a contract. I do like the idea of taking on, because the thing is, we don't have too much to worry about in terms of cap space. It's just about like the biggest priority this offseason needs to be two things, which are starting pitching and trying to go see if we can get Juan Soto to come be a part of the Giants. I mean, we have opportunity, in my opinion. It's got to be about trying to build a team that's worthy of going to the World Series. And I think we can take a shot at that. All right. I mean, but I would be, if I'm the GM of the Giants and they come to me with that notion of absorbing a contract and then taking on like a really good player, I'd be in. Let's look at small market teams who may have contracts they want to get rid of. Boston could give us Trevor Story for free. Yeah. I think Trevor Story is definitely an option. I mean, let's go take a look at Trevor Story. Actually, I mean, Trevor Story. I mean, to be fair about Trevor Story this year, he's been very unlucky in a lot of ways. He's been injured practically the entire year. He hasn't had a lot of at-bats. I mean, he's hit well for the most part in the at-bats he's had, actually. So he's not been bad. But I would be inclined to say, you know what? Let's just let's go grab him. Like, let's say, hey, like we'll give you a couple of our decent prospects for Story. And Story's a decent player. Because a lot of what we're thinking is that we're going to slide Fitz to second base. But small market teams, they have contracts that they might want to get rid of. I mean, I don't want to talk to Colorado about Chris Bryant. That's a terrible idea, in my opinion. But other teams that could work, I mean, let's just look at the list. Who would be a team that we could swindle out of some money? I mean, Tampa Bay, no. I don't want to do business with Tampa Bay. They hustle too many people. Toronto is possible. Twins, Royals, Tigers, Guardians, and Chicago are iffy. I think Chicago actually might be looking to offload some players, but I'm wondering what those players will entail. I really want to talk about going to get Lawrence Butler from the Athletics. But again, we talk about that. We don't have enough premium capital to get a guy like Lawrence Butler, especially if Soto doesn't work out. Miami's rebuilding. Philly, the Nationals are just starting to take shape. The Mets aren't really going to do anything crazy like trades, but yeah, I think I would want to do the business if Twins and Correa or Buxton. They're not going to do that. No shot. Twins, Correa, or Buxton, they won't do that, I don't think, because Correa or Buxton are absolutely fantastic players. I mean, Byron Buxton does get injured, but he's not somebody they're going to let go. They're not going to let go of Correa either, in my opinion. I mean, both those guys are fantastic, and they wouldn't take a risk doing something like that. It's even for a couple good prospects. I mean, they already have like a dozen or so premium prospects waiting, so they're going to be looking to use those guys in the future. But in my opinion, I would probably want to do business with a team over in the AL and not do business with a team in the NL, because I want to do the business at a conference. So the Mariners, the Athletics, the Blue Jays, the Boston Red Sox, and maybe the Chicago White Sox. Those would probably be the teams that we would talk to and say, hey, let's do business on this player or that player. That's my opinion. But yeah, it'll certainly have some interest in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I do not think that the Twins would do business on Buxton or Correa, especially not Buxton. And definitely not Correa, because Correa has already been invested in so much. I mean, Yeah, I don't think so. Calgary. Calgary. Well, that didn't mean to happen. I didn't mean for that to happen. Sorry. All right. I mean, it's just been a very, I'm tired today, man. I do want to see if Story has something left in the tank, but I'm not sure he would be willing to come here either. I mean, I really do wonder how this team is going to take shape next season. I mean, the Giants, they certainly have. I mean, we have a nucleus of players that certainly raises eyebrows, and people are like, oh, yeah, that could be something if they put it together. And there's certainly a lot of upside looking at the players that we have on this team. I mean, looking at the position players in particular, Patty has opportunity to improve next year. Matt Chapman just got his deal. Fitzgerald is looking really good. I think that other players such as Encarnacion and Ramos, Encarnacion is going to have a place on the roster. Ramos is going to be guaranteed it. And that's certainly a nucleus of players all around that you're like, oh, yeah, that could be interesting if you put something at the center of it all. And that's Juan Soto. That's the guy that Eric, myself, and Glenn have been talking about for the past 5 months. But there's intrigue, in my opinion, about what's going to happen this offseason. And I think that it'll be interesting to see. But again, we're not there yet. We wait till after the World Series, and then we'll see. But, yeah. Yeah, I do think trying to get Gausman back could be interesting, but it's iffy in my opinion. That's all. I do wonder how much he has left in the tank, though, Kevin Gausman. Let me just get some information. Let's take a look at him. I mean, he's been certainly a good starter. In the last few years of his career, he's been very good. He was third in Cy Young voting in 2023, way behind Cole and Sonny Gray. I mean, I wonder how it's all going to be. I mean, I really am hoping that this team that there's going to be something interesting that happens next year. Because at this point, like, if we don't do something, then we're just going to be going right back to the same thing that Farhan was doing. I think next year, depending on whether or not we sign Soto, if we don't sign Soto, it's going to be a year of just observation to see if we have something ready to build upon, or we're going to be, if we have Soto, we're immediately going to be like, okay, let's see if we can go. Let's see if we can go as far as let's go as far as we can and see if that's enough. But we'll see from there. But yeah. I honestly might end early today, y'all. I'm definitely getting a bit more like, I don't know. Hamilton, Caballero. I mean, some of the things that have been proposed to me this off season have definitely been interesting. I mean, I'm just hoping that this off season's one more of anticipation rather than hope. I mean, we'll see, but Soto, Willy Adames, Lawrence Butler, Gleyber Torres. I mean, there's something interesting. Any fantasy basketball sleepers? I mean, let's think. I mean, I think one team that is going to do super well this year that not a lot of people are talking about, I think the Memphis Grizzlies and the Indiana Pacers are actually going to look a lot better than they have. Memphis Grizzlies last year were cursed by a lot of bad luck. Ja Morant got injured a couple times, and he had suspensions. Indiana Pacers just had some bad luck not fall their way, and that's too bad. But looking at the rosters around the league, I think that the Memphis Grizzlies and the Pacers are teams that look really good. They just have to figure it out. And if they do that, then they really could go far. It's just about like consistency from their players. I mean, take a look at that. Take a look at Memphis and Indiana, I'd say. I don't have faith in the Philadelphia 76ers. Cleveland has kind of shown me that they're not as good as I hoped they would be with DG and all these other players. I mean, I think Oklahoma City has possibility of getting even better, but I think most people realize that. They're not really a sleeper in that way. But for me, I'd say Indiana and our friends in, oh my God, what did I say? I'm blanking again. And Memphis and the Memphis Grizzlies. I'd say the Memphis Grizzlies and our friends over in Indiana, even though I hate the Grizzlies and how much trash they talked in 2022. I mean, yeah, they were just that team was so cocky and unnecessarily like, oh yeah, we're the best, and they hadn't done a damn thing. So those are the two teams I would be serious about. Like, oh yeah, those two teams could be really good. Just like they're definitely, especially the Grizzlies, they're a little overlooked right now, in my opinion. I think I actually might end early today, y'all. Like right now, or not right now, but like in like a couple minutes, because I don't think there's going to be any other people coming in here, but it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm definitely getting to a point where like my eyes are starting to get a little tired, but yeah. Whew, man. All right. I think this is going to be it. Yeah, this is it, Ed. I mean, I think I'll just roll the outro now. I mean, thank you guys for just coming around, talking to me. Thanks, Ed, for coming around, just talking about whatever. Thank you for everybody else that just showed up and just listened in for a little bit, didn't comment, but I'm hoping to do better, y'all. I'm hoping to do better at sports and talking about it. I'm hoping that you guys will maintain your faith in me and trust me to give takes and talk about baseball, basketball, football. I mean, just hoping that that continues and we can have a little fun here in the off season, in the regular season, and whenever. But appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming around. See ya.
You've been watching the Northern California Sports and Entertainment Network, a Northern Lights Entertainment broadcasting station.